dust storm, man.
Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
Well, another Star Wars day is come and gone, and with it, we got a bunch of new topics. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe. Of course, with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey, Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing good, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
May
Star
the
Wars
Fourth be
Day,
with
man.
you. Yeah, exactly.
And this year was Bad Batch.
Yes, it was all about Bad Batch, wasn't it?
All about Bad Batch.
Heck yeah.
And we'll get to Bad Batch, but we're of course going to put it on the back end. That way, anyone who hasn't seen it yet, you can listen to all the other stuff we're going to talk about that had to do with Star Wars Day, things like that. And then we'll stop in a place where you can pause it and come back later after you've caught up.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of being spoiler sensitive there, because we are going to talk about a lot of stuff. There was a lot in there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, along with Bad Batch, we also got some other new content. We got the biomes.
Yeah. That kind of caught me off guard, I got to say, a little bit. I hopped on Disney Plus, for the Bad Batch, and it's like, ooh, what's this?
Yep.
Like,
and alongside biomes was vehicle fly-throughs.
Yes. Also, quite the surprise.
So these are both of these are in the same kind of vein. They're almost like drone footage through something, right?
Yeah.
Albeit a very slow drone.
Right. So, yes, the biomes one for sure.
Yes.
Was like, man, this looks really cool. This almost reminds you of what could have been like a ride at Disney or something, except, man, this is a slow ride.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if it was that much slower. I think they used the same pacing, but there's a problem with the two different sceneries here, right? With biomes, you're looking at, for one, you're looking at like Hoth, which is snow.
Right.
Tatooine.
Yeah.
Sand.
Yeah. Exactly.
Whereas when you're doing the vehicle fly-throughs, you got all these little details. So your eye is being drawn to a bunch of different things.
Yes.
So the pacing of it seems to make sense there. Whereas with biomes, it's like, okay, I've seen this whole scene. Can we, scroll into something else?
Exactly.
There's just not as much for your eye to look at.
And I have to say, when there was something for you to be checking out, it was way off in the distance and it never got close.
No.
You could make out what things were. There's a herd of tauntauns running across the mountain, a herd of AT-ATs walking the other way. And it's like, zoom in on this, here I am thinking, okay, I want this snow speeder view of all these AT-ATs. It's like, nope, that's not happening. It's like, okay.
They got a great way for you to see a fast-paced view of the landscapes, Doug. It's called Star Tours.
Yes, this is a true statement. Yes.
So yeah, first let's talk biomes, right? Like, let's go over this one first. I like it. It's cool. It's almost like one of those things that it's like the perfect screensaver.
Okay, I can see it as that. Yes. Yes.
But it's just that. It's very cool to see these landscapes from, high up. One complaint I did have is we didn't really we're going over Tatooine. I'd kind of like to see, some of the settlements and things like that mixed in there.
Yeah.
Same with Hoth. I'd like to see, you don't have to focus on the base. I know the point is the landscape, but I'd like to see the base in there.
Sure.
Just as point of reference kind of stuff. Like, okay, this was Echo Base. This is what was surrounding it.
Exactly.
not just assume that since now I see the walkers, okay, that's Echo Base on the other, and I think you can make out the one like satellite dish looking turrets, you know?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So you can make out those 4 turrets.
Gotcha.
Or maybe they were the bigger turrets actually. Not the satellite dish looking ones, but the big
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought of first actually. And
yeah, those. So you can make those out in the distance, but that's it.
Right.
So and I understand Echo Base is like underground, right? But,
yeah, but something else that would have been cool, you know, see a one-armed Wampa walking around somewhere, you know. Just saying.
Carrying his arm like he's looking for a doctor, like
exactly. I'm gonna find Luke Skywalker and beat him with his arm.
right. And the same goes, you know, for Tatooine, right? Like, show me Mos Eisley or Mos Espa in the background, right? It doesn't have to be, you know, super visible and stand out, but let's get some point of reference.
Yeah. That would have been awesome. Because, I mean, you have, okay, got the crate dragon skeleton there, and then, you know, we even had the droids, you know.
Right.
The speeder, and it's like, okay, there's a moisture evaporator.
See, I would have been like, since it's biomes, right, and it's focused on the landscape and things like that. I would have rather done without the droids, the speeder,
yes,
you know, things like that. All the vehicles, leave that out of it. I don't care. Show me the cities mixed in with the landscape and things like that. That's what I was kind of expecting to see.
I almost wonder if they did that to inform us that it was Tatooine and not Jakku.
Or Tunisia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get where you're going with that. Like, but Jakku settlements would look very different than Tatooine settlements, so you could have handled that with the, you know, showing a settlement.
That's true.
And they didn't have a problem showing a settlement because they showed that village on
Sargon.
Sargon, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all they showed.
And they showed that, and they showed that, and showed that, yes.
Yeah. I mean, didn't show the trees. I mean, that river would have been a cool thing to kind of explore, right? Like,
right. Yeah. I guess I didn't even realize that, you know, if that is our settlement from The Mandalorian, I didn't realize there was a river back there.
No, but there's this cool winding river right behind it, and like it would have been cool to kind of fly over that a little bit and show the landscape.
Yeah.
You know, that just I guess things I'd like to see in future installments, right? Like,
right.
Because there's tons of these available to them.
It is true.
But I will say crate was the most boring thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like a scrolling wallpaper.
Yeah. This overhead view of the salty earth.
Yeah.
The red veins going through it. Yeah. That one was rough. You know, what I would say about it is you got a decent perspective of the difference between a AT-AT and an ATM-6 or whatever. And,
yeah,
you know, it's like, oh, those are even bigger. Yep. Got it.
Yep.
You know,
them footprints are bigger.
Right. Yeah, that is true. They were much bigger. We did get to see Octu.
Huh?
Octu, right?
Yeah.
And some pork started flying at you, and, you know, ready to try and shoot him out of the sky. Anyway. That's just
Octu is a very, very cool looking landscape.
It is. It is. Yes.
I'd love to visit that island someday. Like,
oh yeah,
it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna be a Jedi Master that's run away to hide, that's an awesome place.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I will say that's one place, they showed the Millennium Falcon taking off of the island. That didn't bother me there.
No.
But,
I shouldn't say, like, none of the vehicles bothered me.
right.
But the use of the vehicles as opposed to the structures that would make up, the landscape view of something.
Yeah.
That actually adds to the footprint of the image.
Right.
Whereas these other things are not set there, right? They're just brought in to prove you're looking at Star Wars landscapes, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, otherwise you could be saying, oh, look, Tunisia, Norway, hey, Ireland, got it. Yep.
Right. So
overall pretty cool though.
Yeah, overall pretty cool. I'm not mad for watching it.
No.
It's rather short too, like doesn't take up your day.
Right.
Now the vehicles.
Yes.
The vehicles, the same thing. We got two vehicles. We got the Millennium Falcon and a Imperial Star Destroyer, right?
I think that was a new one. First Order.
Was it a new one? Because the meeting room looked awfully familiar.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I think there was, I'm not so sure. I think there might have been some images in there kind of like mixed back and forth. Unless I'm just not that familiar with the First Order Star Destroyers.
Right.
There was the one room in there that looked like it was straight out of the Death Star.
Yes.
The one that Luke Han.
That's the one I was referring to because that dated it for me, right?
Yes, exactly.
I would assume that an Imperial meeting room on a Star Destroyer would match the one on the Death Star.
Maybe. Okay. But that one, I remember that from the Death Star, not a Star Destroyer. So,
Right. But yes, it was a pretty cool look. I would have liked to have seen the trenches around the catwalk up there in a little more detail.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got that view from the upper platform kind of thing.
Yeah, they kind of showed the seats there and the stations.
Right.
But they only showed like two of them.
Yep.
I'd have liked to have seen a more sweeping view of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was still cool. Like I said, with this one, the pacing seemed better because you had so much drawing your eyes, right? Like, wow, what's that button do? Like, what's this? Like,
yes.
Like it's amazing that some buttons looked intriguing. Like, I would not be able to look at that and not push it.
Exactly.
Like, that's a very attractive button.
I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm touching it.
So, and then of course the Falcon, which I will say I did enjoy. That was probably the engineering room, right, on the Star Destroyer.
Which room are you talking about?
The it looked like an engine room, engineering room.
Okay.
Kind of deal, like power plant area.
Yeah.
That looked pretty cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, that looks very neat, and that's not something that I think we've seen. It's one of those areas that it's like, hey, look at this.
Right. Yeah, totally.
And then the Falcon.
The Falcon.
Never gets old seeing that.
No.
That ship.
What I liked about it, to be honest, was you got some like pretty gritty, detailed views of the Falcon that you've seen them all a million times, but it's like this lingers on it, and you get to study it a little better,
Hmm.
So very cool in that aspect.
Yeah, it's just so iconic, and seeing it at any point is just refreshing. You feel like you're home. You feel like Han Solo, like Chewie were home. You feel like it.
Oh, heck yeah.
When you're looking at the inside of the Falcon. So
yeah, always
a good time to revisit that. All right. Well, a couple weeks ago, we talked about lightsabers.
Yes. One lightsaber in particular.
Yes, the lightsaber that people are referring to as, they've made a real lightsaber, right?
Right.
I mean, as real as fake gets.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you're cutting through anything with this, but
Right.
looks cool.
Yes. So with I guess it's like a little trailer for the launch of Galactic Star Cruiser, the hotel that'll be at the Walt Disney World Resort.
Right.
They have a little teaser with a cast member that portrays Rey.
Yep.
And she's holding this lightsaber and ignites it. And then you get a little tease that see this, in person first at Galactic Star Cruiser in 2022. So Galactic Star Cruiser is going to be debuting in 2022.
Right.
And along with it will be this lightsaber. You'll be able to see it in person for the first time there.
So I get to see it.
You get to see it. You don't get to buy it.
I want to buy it. Come on. It's not fair. They're just
I'm guessing that
us
thing's
now.
very expensive, and they haven't figured out how to make it marketable yet.
Talking about Star Wars people, man. It's all marketable.
I know. I don't trust me. I get it. I get it. They don't pay attention to their own conventions to see what people pay for some stuff, right?
Yeah, true. So, the one thing I will say I noticed was the hilt on that thing was gigantic.
Yes, it's massive.
Yes.
But what I will say is it is slimmer than I imagined. It's longer than I'd imagined. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm referring to.
Yeah, it's longer than I imagined. But it's slimmer than I kind of thought it was going to be, because I kind of felt like it was going to be massively, round.
Yeah.
To house all these components, and it's really not. But it is long.
Might be a little bigger in diameter than I was expecting.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think it's much bigger in diameter than the prop lightsabers that you can buy.
Okay.
Any prop, any of the lightsabers you buy, they're not exactly to scale with what you see on screen. They're always a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Because they actually have to house electronics and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is not surprising to me that this width. But the length is a little shocking.
Yeah. It's, especially, we're talking, they have an actor, like you said, portraying Rey. So looks like someone about same size as Daisy Ridley, holding it with two hands between the two ends of the hilt and the space between her hands. I think you could fit 4 of her hands on that lightsaber.
Yeah.
But, kudos for making it happen. I mean, there's always got to be, a Rev 1 product, right? Maybe in...
Yeah, it's got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming there was a lot of scaling down for this thing in development.
Yeah.
I'm sure it started even bigger than this.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. It was encouraging for me is I can't wait to see what we can have in maybe 2028. Right. Something like that. Something it's like, okay, we figured out how to make this smaller, all the mechanism. And as far as that part goes as well, it's cool. I'd like to see it deploy a little faster, be kind of more screen accurate. But regardless, it's really cool. And I just wonder.
I think it's pretty accurate to how the lightsabers opened in Episode 4.
Yeah.
For the duel between Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yeah.
Because those opened real slow in that.
Yeah.
And this, I think, was accurate to that.
Closer.
But that was
for
literally
sure.
the only time we saw him open that slow.
Yeah.
I'll say this, appearance-wise, this thing looks pretty solid.
Oh, sure. I just want, I wonder what you're going to be able to do with it.
I wonder what the rigidity is going to be of that blade.
Yeah.
Like, is it just rigid enough to swing around and kind of do stuff with, or is it actually rigid enough to make contact with something else?
I will say this, reading through the article on the opening of Galaxy Star Cruiser, it does mention testing your force abilities against a training remote. So I wonder if there's some sort of something, maybe you get to use this sort of thing with that. So you're not actually making contact with anything or anybody, but you still get to use the lightsaber.
Right.
I could see that happening. And if that's the case, they're very smart because they can make these things, and people would pay a lot of money just to be able to do that.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm reading the I was reading the how the experience is going to work.
Yeah.
And I do like how it starts, right?
Uh-huh.
You basically get into a launch pod.
Nice.
And you'll be able to see out the viewport as you leave your world behind, jump into hyperspace, and draw closer and closer to the Halcyon?
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
That's the name of the Star Cruiser that you'll be getting on?
Yeah. That's how I figured we'd pronounce it too. That's
So yeah, you'll be able to see out the viewport. You'll be able to see it dock, and the airlock will open, and you'll be able to step onto the Star Cruiser. I really like that. That your check-in is you're gonna check in and you're gonna begin the experience.
Nice.
So it does seem like a really interesting thing. I just hope it's not $5,000.
Oh, it's going to be $5,000. Yeah. But hey,
Yeah. Cool stuff though, and this lightsaber is exciting. The hotel is exciting.
Right.
Yeah. So looking forward to seeing more of this as it comes to fruition. And get to see stuff other than art renderings, right?
Absolutely.
Everything for the hotel is still art renderings. We haven't seen any
I don't think
physical pictures.
I don't think anything's really completed yet enough to show you that. But
nope.
Once it is, I'm sure we'll see plenty of video from it. So
yep.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsAndMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsAndMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com.
All right, so first half of our Bad Batch content, right? This is going to be Bad Batch Light. This is going to be all the promotional material, right?
Yes. We did just have May the 4th, right? And,
yes.
Of course, they always want to promote Star Wars on May the 4th. So, this is, and I guess you're putting it the right way because, as far as, any heavy hitting news or breakthroughs or, stuff that we just got to know. Yeah. Well, there was none of that, but
there never is.
Yeah, I know. And we're going to prove it to you. So
there are little nuggets in there and things that you can take with and run with whatever your imagination can come up with.
Sure. Yes. So Yeah. So, let's see. Dave Filoni was on Good Morning America, okay, for May the 4th. And, there was really not a whole lot being said up until the point where I thought this was kind of cool. They had some viewers able to ask questions. So it appeared to me as though they kind of got the perspective of like an OT fan, original trilogy fan, and then a sequel trilogy fan. So it's kind of neat, getting like the whole swath of fandom, and it's kind of how that went. So start with the OT fan.
Hey, Dave, and Good Morning America. Thank you so much for taking my question. Dave, you had the opportunity to work with George Lucas very early in your career. What is one thing that you take with you, one memory or lesson that you keep in mind as you move forward creating new Star Wars projects?
Oh, well, George, there's so many things that he taught me, but one of the big ones was to remember that this is primarily a show for kids, and that we're supposed to inspire them, to give them something that's hopeful and something to believe in, which I think sometimes we can all use. So that's one big one I keep in mind for sure.
So nothing revolutionary there, but
No,
it's
but it is nice to hear over and over and over again, because his goal doesn't change.
True.
He's got a target, and he's staying on target, right?
Yes. He is consistent with that for sure.
So like it's no surprise that we get the consistency of content from any project that Dave's involved with, because he has this one target and this one, mindset going in.
Right.
And that's never wavered.
It's a good point.
It's always, it's for kids.
Yes.
First. And then we build on it from there. And I think that mindset alone is what makes the content that, Dave's been bringing to the table for so many years so good, is because when you have that mindset that it's for kids, what's one thing that you have as a kid that you kind of lose as an adult, and it's hard to hold on to? It's your imagination.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the one thing they're really good at doing with this is capturing your imagination, pushing you back into that childhood, imaginative state.
Right.
So, yeah, bravo, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
I always feel like a kid again watching, the Clone Wars, things like that, because it sparks that imagination.
Heck yeah.
That sense of wonder.
Yeah, for sure. So, on to his next question here. We had looked like a younger person. I would say definitely sequel trilogy fan. Probably, I guess you could say this is their Star Wars, right? The sequel trilogy. And here was their question.
Cam Ray here.
And Bub.
Yes, and Bub, my pet monkey lizard.
Not a pet.
You're a pet. Anyway, I've really been enjoying the new High Republic era literature, and my question is there a chance that era will be explored further through live action or animated series?
I can't really say for sure, but I know one thing is that we've divided Star Wars up into these big eras, and so it's nice to give a lot of creative people their own space to tell stories in, and so the writers in the High Republic era are doing a wonderful job at that, and we all keep an eye on what each other's doing, so you never know. I mean, it's a big galaxy and it's ever expanding.
So my guess is maybe not. I mean, the way he put it was giving everyone their own space kind of thing. I have a feeling that if somebody's going to be doing a project, whether animated or live action from that era, it's probably not going to be Dave, because Dave is pretty, I would say he's firmly entrenched in the prequel through OT era right there.
Well, I wouldn't say that, because you got the Mandalorian. This is sequel era stuff.
It's post OT.
Post OT,
but
pre
not
sequel
quite,
trilogy,
yeah.
but it's sequel era because it's post OT.
Okay.
So he's bridging the gap there.
Yeah, okay. It's a good way of putting it, bridging the gap. But it's got
I think
the feel.
Dave's just too busy. Like,
it's got the feel of the OT more than the sequel trilogy to me. But I agree with what you just said. He's too busy.
let's just back up a little bit there. He did take part in Resistance though, and Resistance was very much sequel trilogy.
He launched that. I don't know how much he.
Yeah, I don't feel like
part of
Dave's
it.
getting bottled in by eras though.
No, fine.
But I would say, like, one, he's just got too much on his plate. He's not going to take on the High Republic right now. And in all honesty, I'll say this: I've read some of the High Republic literature, and I'll say this: this is one time where I'm like, yeah, this is probably not Dave's style.
Okay.
Because let's go back to what I just said about that, making it for children and that capturing that imagination.
Right.
I felt that the High Republic, particularly the first book, was very adult.
Okay.
Everything was very serious. Everything was very dire. It was not. It was a lot of death.
Gotcha.
And I did not feel like that was capturing my childhood imagination. I felt like that was putting me in a very serious version of Star Wars.
Okay.
So there is a very different approach that would be needed to handle something like that. I don't feel like that kind of content is that well suited for animation. In the Clone Wars like way.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong. It could work. It could be very successful. I mean, there are a lot of Jedi and a lot of lightsabers and things like that, and it could work out just fine. But I will say it was a very serious version of Star Wars for me.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. I did take note that he said, we pay attention to what each other are doing, but we aren't necessarily stepping into each other's sandbox kind of thing, so which kind of makes sense to me, because if you were to be doing that, you're spreading your focus thin then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, let's look at Dave Filoni's involvement with the sequel films, right? He didn't have any until there was some crossover with Clone Wars content and Rebels content, things like that. Particularly the final scene of The Rise of Skywalker. I think that was the one time Dave Filoni got involved at all.
Gotcha, yeah. Well, who knows? We'll see. Like you said, we'll see. You never know. So,
yeah, you never know. You never know. It could be something that falls into Dave's lap someday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't particularly think so, but maybe. I think this is going to be a project that stays primarily in literature.
Which makes sense because, Star Wars traditionally has had a very strong foothold in literature. So,
yeah,
it's not like that is, something to be sneezed at. That is traditionally a very good spot to enjoy some Star Wars. So,
how long did it take for Thrawn to make it to the screen?
Oh God, yeah, exactly. It was a long time. So they did ask him one more question. This question was asked by, the host of the show, Michael Strahan, and, they couldn't let him go without asking this.
What can you tell us about season 3 of The Mandalorian? Give it up.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I don't like to go into those answers as much without John here, my partner, John Favreau, and all of that. It's exciting. We're both working on that. We're working on Boba Fett right now. So there's a lot of new adventures coming up. I have to be careful. I can't really say anything specific, but I think the Force will be strong with it. Let's just say that.
All right, first I got to say, I love how squirrely Dave gets with these questions, right? Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
He goes into a whole different mode when he gets in deflect mode.
Hey, take evasive action, yeah.
I can't.
That is
right
true.
into that, right? Like,
absolutely.
It cracks me up how his entire presentation changes.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing, the Force will be strong with this one. This is one of those moments where Dave is he's giving you a hint.
I think so too.
So I would expect to see some more Force user action.
Right. I got a feeling most people are going to jump to, oh my God, it's going to be Luke teaching Grogu.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Not even a little bit.
Right.
I think we're going to see more Ahsoka. And I think maybe Mando is going to be joining the quest to find Ezra and Thrawn.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, that would play right in with what Kathleen Kennedy said about all of these shows. Culminating in a huge final battle type thing or whatever.
Yep.
Clearly I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, that kind of makes sense that way.
Like whether he has long-term involvement in that or not, or if it's... So when's Ahsoka coming?
I don't know, honestly.
I don't think we have a date for that
I was going to say, there's a lot of stuff that we don't have dates for, and so many of the dates have gotten shuffled around for various reasons. It's all a jumble in my head, to be honest. So what I do know is Boba Fett this Christmas. So.
Right. That's going to kick all that off.
Yeah.
We'll probably get Boba Fett, Mandalorian to follow almost immediately after, I would assume.
Yeah, we can assume and reserve the right to be incorrect.
Very much incorrect. So, yeah, we might see Book of Boba Fett in December and Mandalorian in October, which is October is a good time to expect something from them.
Maybe. And when are we going to see Andor?
Oh,
yeah.
Is that in 2022?
I don't know. So, I'm assuming it's going to be in 2022 because I believe they're done shooting now, aren't they?
Are they?
I don't know. Clearly, I'm not sure. So,
clearly they haven't said Jack.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe they have wrapped. I didn't think they wrapped shooting. I thought.
Well, maybe they're still shooting. But they were shooting.
We probably saw like they wrapped principal photography or something.
They were shooting at the end of last year. They stopped for Christmas.
Well, then they're probably wrapped by now.
And then went back shooting. So that's what I was thinking, yeah.
If they're still shooting now, they're really bad at this.
Right. But who knows? It's. We'll see it when it all comes out.
Yeah. So yeah, I would expect Andor's probably next year too.
Yeah.
It's going to be a busy year next year.
It's going to be. And I'm looking forward to it. And I think we'll all be pulling our hair out too. It'll be great.
Pulling our hair out?
Yeah. So much Star Wars to take in. Yeah, try to keep up. That's right.
Well, I would imagine that they're going to space this stuff out. You're not going to see too many overlapping things.
Right.
You'll probably end one, start another, end one, start another.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be like that too.
It'll be bookended pretty good. It won't be overlapping.
Right.
I mean, I was surprised to see The Mandalorian and Clone Wars overlap at all,
Yeah.
That was shocking to me.
Yeah.
I loved it, but I get 2 pieces of Star Wars in 1 week. Amazing.
Yes. Okay, so we also had some promotion from Entertainment Tonight, and on there we had Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett, and they asked them a couple questions that were a little interesting, just kind of see what they had to say about it, and who we might see here in this show, The Bad Batch.
It becomes pretty clear after the first episode plus the trailer, we're going to see some familiar faces along the way. What can you tell us about the types of surprises we have in store in the future of the series?
There will be surprises, and they will be surprising. But we've been talking today a little bit about the idea that in this time period, there are a lot of different Star Wars characters that are alive and doing things. So it's a really interesting opportunity for our guys to cross the paths. We always want to make sure that it's, for a good reason, not just for the fan service. We don't want to just throw all the action figures in. I mean, we do, but we don't want it to feel like that's what we're doing.
Back.
So we got to hold back a little bit. But all we can really say, we can't say too much, but there will be some more familiar faces we will see in our show.
Okay, so more cameos.
More cameos, yep. We know of 1 or 2 already, and we know of at least 1 more coming up. But I think they're going about it the right way. They don't just want to stuff them all in there, but let's make them count, right?
Right. And I've been very vocal about how I feel about overdoing cameos, right?
Right.
So I don't want to see them overdo it. I like cameos. I like bringing characters in. But let's have it serve our characters.
Yes.
For the show in question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to see a bunch of hey, we're gonna bring these in just to kick off another series. No, that's what other franchises do, and let's not do that.
Right. Okay, so this is actually a subject that you and I touched on off mic, and I think we got our questions answered in this.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that the Bad Batch was from the mind of George Lucas. Is that true? And did he have any involvement in the series? Were you guys able to converse with him at all?
So the original concept of the Bad Batch was meant for the original run of the Clone Wars. And then when that show was canceled, that arc that became the arc on the final season of the Clone Wars was sort of shelved. But they aired that story reel at Star Wars Celebration in 2015 for fans. So there was this immediate reaction and people loved it and people started getting excited. I think the original conceit was that it was a Dirty Dozen, but told from a clone's perspective. Mm-hmm. And that's very much what George wanted. George isn't involved in this series, although, we have Dave Filoni, who's, very much involved, and he's kind of our conduit to
right.
the George Lucas universe. But we wanted to keep it true to the Clone Wars, since we are a successor series to them, and true to George Lucas's vision of Star Wars in general.
So
no George.
No George. We were kind of wondering if he might have a little influence on this, but apparently he conceived of the idea and that's about it. So,
right.
Which, you know, that's kind of how it's going to be, I think, moving forward. You know.
Yeah.
Everything will probably have that, you know, based on characters developed by George Lucas kind of thing, and that's about it.
Yep.
So,
which is fine.
Yeah. So there was one more guy they had on pertaining to the Bad Batch and its debut on May the 4th, and you know, they had some canned questions that he answered, you know, in kind of a canned way, and but what I thought was really cool is when he did this.
The typical clone voice is more that there's your Rex, there's your basic clone like that, and then Hunter has a covered smokiness to his voice, and Tech is a little more British in his sound and is very easy breezy.
Wrecker is a big child, basically.
And Crosshair is a coiled snake, so his delivery is more deliberate and ready to strike.
And Echo is closer to the clone, the basic clone voice, but he's often got a grumpier tone to his voice. So because he's not entirely on board with how the Bad Batch does things. Because he's a reg, right? Even though he's an android. So that's how that's the basic switch between the characters, is how I see it.
D. Bradley Baker is amazing.
Yes. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So quick.
Yeah. And he just switches back and forth and you know, I gotta say, watching this episode, my family was amazed to hear that he could switch between these voices and actually like be recording these different voices all in one take. You know, when you really think about it, you know, it is a pretty amazing feat, and he, you know, deserves all the accolades that he gets all the time because of this. He's very talented, that's for sure.
Yes, and I mean, he's the star of this show. I mean,
absolutely,
it's D. Bradley Baker 90% of the time.
Yes, for sure,
and it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely, what an amazing talent.
Absolutely. So, because of Bad Batch, I thought, you know, nice little way to like kick us off. So,
right. Which that means this is the time. This is the time that we don't hold back anymore.
Right.
We are going to talk about the first episode of the Bad Batch. This is Aftermath, right? Aftermath.
Yes.
So yeah, last chance. If you haven't watched it yet, pause this here. Come back later. Go watch it.
Right.
You won't regret it. All right. First thing I got to say is, wow.
Yeah.
They did not hold back for this first episode.
Oh, no. No. This we got a lot of stuff. There was a lot of information to take in. And it was, you know, as always, you know, with anything Filoni's involved with, for sure, you know, very well thought out and a good way to kick this show off, I think.
Right. I guess we'll start right off with talking about the elephant in the room for this episode, right? And that is what happens with Crosshair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We did talk about Crosshair ahead of time. So,
yes.
He succumbed to the programming.
Yeah. The influence and this expands on the influence of the inhibitor chip,
right?
And Order 66.
Yes.
It goes deeper than it was just an order to destroy the Jedi.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This order came with a full commitment to the Empire and Palpatine.
Yeah, for sure. It was pretty clear. I mean, you could see a change in all the regular clones. It was pretty clear right off the bat, you know. As soon as Order 66 came about, it was like, boom, they were all business, you know. It was like, wow. It was like flipping a switch. Because if you're familiar with the Clone Wars at all, they had individuality and they had personality, and all of that kind of seemed to just
just dissipated.
Yeah.
They did become a whole nother thing. It was amazing to see that transition, and Crosshair was the conduit for that transition here.
Right.
Because it didn't quite take with him as strongly as it should have.
Right.
But unlike the rest of, Clone Force 99, for them, it didn't take at all.
Exactly. He still had his loyalty to his squad, but overarching or dangling over that is you could tell he was saying it in an almost robotic way. A good soldier follows orders, right? So,
and I really like how they played off of that as this episode went on. Like, it was like, since when? Like, when did we follow orders?
Exactly. Yes.
Like, now all of a sudden you care about orders. There was just many moments like this, and that was cluing you into the fact that there wasn't something quite right with Crosshair. He wasn't betraying them because he wanted to.
Right.
There was something going on with him.
Yeah.
And it gets confirmed later on where they're like, okay, yes, his programming took hold, but it's not as strong as the other clones.
Right.
And they then enhance it.
Yep. And that's when he turned on his crew.
Yeah.
But they did, even in the cell, the jail cell, Omega even says, I know what you're going to do. Please don't. I know it's not your fault.
Right.
So
it's funny too, because when he kind of like put his hand on his head there.
Yeah, it was like right on the chip, kind of. I don't know.
Yeah. It seemed like he was trying to fight it.
Right.
Like he was torn between his loyalty to his squad.
Right.
And his now newfound loyalty to the Empire.
Well, where else did we see that kind of resistance? In Rex.
Yeah.
Right? When Order 66 came down and, now he lost his fight to the chip until, Ahsoka was able to have that worked on for him.
Yeah.
But, he did resist at first. So, apparently this chip can kind of work in degrees, you know what I'm saying? And my guess would be, if you were like I don't know, I'm just speculating, but Rex is like a quote unquote older clone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's got more individual relationships established and stuff like this, outside of the clone brotherhood, with Jedis
right,
and things like that.
I chalk that up to him being with Anakin and Ahsoka. They were very personable with him. They cared for him, and they had a very different relationship than any other clone and their general.
True.
They were very close. That's why he was able to fight it. Whereas you think of how Kenobi did things, Cody didn't even hesitate.
True. Yeah.
But Obi-Wan wasn't as chummy with Cody.
Right.
You know, him, Anakin, and Ahsoka, Rex, Anakin, and Ahsoka had a kinship. And that helped him, resist a little bit to the order to kill his friend.
Yeah.
Anakin and Ahsoka's different approach to being a Jedi, helped Rex in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. So.
And I assume it's a similar kind of deal with, Crosshair here, because, he's got that brotherhood with his squad. His squad isn't reacting, so he's able to kind of push it off a little bit.
Right.
But as it progresses, it takes hold more and more.
Yeah. He's doing things like questioning Hunter's orders and his actions. Actually files a report against him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, really an interesting arc and a lot deeper than I expected it to be.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of thought that this was just going to be one of them decided to, the Empire seemed like the better approach and they went their separate ways. And nope, it was not so trivial, Joe.
Yeah. Like most things in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, they dug deep on this and they really thought this out well.
Yeah, there was a few things here that in this episode that really made you think, and on the surface they seem like they could be small things, but when you think about it and dig deeper, it gets weighty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we in the beginning of the episode, we got to see some familiar faces.
Kind of.
The first of our cameo appearances, right?
Right.
We get a young Kanan, Caleb at this time.
Right. This is, one of those things that, watching Rebels or I don't remember if it was from Rebels or from the Rebels prequel book, but Kanan talking about what happened during Order 66, and here we get to actually see it firsthand, and it involves the Bad Batch. It's like, wow, kind of cool, but
yeah. I really like this because it shows that perspective of a Padawan who just, witnessed Order 66 and the fall of his master.
Right.
The fear, for him, his absolute panic. Like, what does he do?
Sure.
He can't trust Hunter.
Right. Well, how would he know? Really?
Right.
I mean, yes, he's force sensitive and all that, but in a moment like that, not fully trained, I'm sure his senses have just got to be going wild.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, and he's very fearful. So, we've heard all this fear clouds your judgment.
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, I mean, did it really cloud his judgment? This was probably the best thing for him to do. Because what's Hunter going to do for him? There's an entire squad of clones back there. He's going to fight all them off.
Right.
Crosshair's looking to kill him.
Right.
He's going to fight him off too. Like,
it is amazing to think about. If it wasn't for the Bad Batch being there, he probably would have been standing right side by side with his master, and they would have both been taken out.
Right.
It's. I love how that plays into it. in the story of what happened told previously was told in a general enough of a way from that Padawan's point of view that this all fits. It all fits perfectly, you know? So again, you know, Star Wars weaving together like a basket. It's like, gotta love it.
It is incredible. Like, and it almost looks like that was written with a little bit of hindsight to it. Kind of, obviously not coming up with this at the same time, but thinking something like this at that time and being able to weave something that you made later into it.
Right.
Because you had that foresight to say, look, I kind of think it would happen like this. This is how, you know, he gets away enough to survive. You know, they definitely thought this through.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and it was really cool. I mean, cool ain't really the right word, I guess, but to see that reaction from Caleb really puts Order 66 in more perspective, like adds a little more emotion to it. You know, it was already emotional because John Williams is a genius.
Right.
But like seeing the reaction from someone on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Because you just see the clones killing the Jedi. You don't see anyone reacting, you know, fearful of that and
right,
scared of what's going on.
With that, hey, what's happening here?
Yeah. That confusion that.
Right.
You know, and there was a lot of confusion out of this because the Bad Batch crew was very confused as well.
Sure. Yeah. Hunter says as much.
Yeah. So it added another layer to Order 66. This is something that throughout this later run of the Clone Wars content has really been fleshed out really well.
Right.
And we have a better understanding of Order 66 now than we ever did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I have one question and one statement on Caleb. My question is, do you think we'll see him again in the series?
I lean towards no. But I'll say maybe.
That's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, I lean towards no because I don't think he's gonna appear again as Caleb at all. I think that was he disappeared from that moment.
Right. I just wonder if maybe Hunter and Crosshair are going to have some sort of another showdown in order to either help or hurt Caleb.
Well, I mean, I this is where my maybe comes in because I could see Crosshair being deployed to go rectify this mistake of his former crew, and you know them coming to his aid.
Right.
Coming to Caleb's aid.
Yep, that's kind of where I'm going with it too. So, okay. My statement is the one thing about that character that really kind of bugged me was Freddie Prinze Jr.'s voice on that little kid. It was rough. I mean,
was that his voice?
Oh, if it wasn't, it was a dang good imitation.
Well,
it seemed kind of deep for a kid that age. My kids watching the show took notice of it. So
I did notice something with the voice, but I didn't really feel like it was Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh.
But they definitely did something to try and make it sound like him.
Oh, yeah. You didn't think that it sounded like a little low for someone drawn that age?
Yep, it's Freddie Prinze Jr.
Okay.
Huh. You know, I really didn't focus on it.
Okay.
Yes, I did think that at times it sounded a little deep.
Right.
For his age. But yeah, I really didn't focus on it. It really didn't bother me.
Okay.
But yes, I get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Huh. Good catch.
Hey.
I didn't catch it.
Thanks.
All right. Other standout moments. What else really stood out to you?
So, I know this was a small, rather short bit, but Saw Gerrera, right?
Yes.
And the thing that really gets me about Saw is, you know, he has a moment where he talks to the Bad Batch about what's going on and who these people are that are with him and why. And for Saw Gerrera, this fight against oppression is like, it doesn't matter who the oppressor is to him. He's going to fight against the oppression. And, you know, he can see pretty clearly what just happened with this, you know, and sees past all of the, the Jedi turned on him and on the Emperor and tried to overthrow him and all this. And it's like, you know, Saw's not falling for any of it, and he's going to keep fighting. You know, it was kind of cool to see how quickly he saw through the charade.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really like this Saw.
Yeah,
like I really like this moment for him. It bridges the gap because when we see him in the Onderon arc for the earlier Clone Wars episodes.
Yep.
He's kind of brash.
Right.
Undisciplined.
Yep.
But you can see the potential there.
Oh yeah.
But then we fast forward to Rogue One.
Yeah.
And in Rogue One, he's very radical.
Yeah.
He's a any means necessary, fighter. And you're like, wow. Like he was brash before, but this is kind of a jump.
Yeah. This could be...
Now we get to see that middle. He was very composed.
Yeah.
Very well thought. Spoke very much like a good leader.
Absolutely.
I like what he says there. Everything we were fighting for, we can't just lose it by giving in now.
Right.
He sees it as if they just bow down to this new empire, then everything they fought for was for nothing.
Exactly.
They fight one version of oppression to just embrace another.
That's... Yeah, exactly. I love that. It's man, it goes deep enough to the point where it's hard for me to express all of my feelings about that whole scene. And I feel like it was so much deeper than if you just looked at that scene and watched it on the surface for what it was. You could skip right over all that, but it's like, there's a whole lot being said right there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very good scene, very well done. And yeah, put a lot of insight into a character that we've seen really only the bad in him, right? Like,
yeah, from a lot of characters' point of view, yeah. You know, those who are actually, you know, quote unquote allied with him, don't necessarily like his tactics, right? I mean, but when you're somebody who's been fighting your whole life, because we learn that was his whole life, you know, fighting against the, you know, sources of oppression. He, you know, finally does get to that point where he's like, you know what? Had enough. Can't do it.
yeah, and I gotta say another example of the magic that they can create in this animation style for the Clone Wars is the emotion that you see projected by Saw when he talks about the ones we've lost.
Yeah.
You know, you see that pain he feels for losing his sister.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you see it in anime. You see that pain in animation. That is just mind-boggling to me.
Yes.
That they've gotten so good at this that they can portray something that usually you need a live action actor that's good at their craft to do.
Exactly.
Because this is not even something every actor can do.
Right. Yeah.
So to see them able to pull it off with a cartoon is just it's impressive.
Yes.
And it was very, very well done. Like I absolutely love that scene.
Now, on the flip side of that scene, we had Tarkin sending the Bad Batch on this mission to take out these quote-unquote insurgents we've tracked to Onderon. And as soon as he said Onderon, I knew who he was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, and Tarkin, you're lying to these guys. That's what was all going on in my head. You're lying to these guys. You know who it is, and they were there. You didn't track them to there. You knew they were there and what they stood for. And that's why you're sending these guys to do your dirty work. You know? It shows on another level of just how despicable Tarkin is.
Yeah. I mean, I can't help but every time I see Tarkin portrayed in the Clone Wars or Rebels, every time when I walk away, I'm like, man, Tarkin is an asshole.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
My God, they are doing such a good job of just showing the absolute menace this guy is.
Yes. And further and further and further backs up our first, you know, not our first introduction, but when Leia is brought before him and she says, I thought I recognized your foul stench. You know, it's like, oh, there's a reason why she says this. She knows, you know, it's like, okay, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the best built backstories in Star Wars.
Absolutely.
I mean, because we didn't get a ton of Tarkin, but we did get enough to know that he was a very bad dude.
Yes.
But they've built on that so much that now we know why, like you said, Leia would say something like that.
Right.
This guy has a history of just ruthless behavior.
Sure. And even you think back to Rogue One, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the shenanigans he was pulling on Krennic, you know, at that time, you know, that whole time leading up to the events of Rogue One, I'm sure the rumor mill is rife with the kind of stuff, you know, Leia's in the Senate,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone gets to hear about their harsh dealings with Tarkin. I don't know. That's my headcanon, just making stuff up, but it's like,
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you think back to Rebels. I mean, they had a Tarkin town,
right?
Of all the displaced people because of Tarkin's policies.
Exactly, that's right. So
this is not a good dude,
right? And
there is not one single thread of good in this guy,
right? And he proves it again.
Yeah.
And, masterful work there, for sure.
All right, new character. Omega.
Yeah.
Omega. Very interesting. I don't quite know what is going to be is it just the insight that she has that makes her the fifth of this, defective clones?
What do you mean, the insight?
They mentioned her mindfulness and insight and things like that, much like Tech.
Okay. I don't know. She seems to be in the know of a lot of what's going on. That's for sure.
Yeah, and obviously very smart for where she is in her development, right? Like,
right.
Still relatively young.
Yep.
I'm assuming, much like Boba Fett, an unaltered as far as like age acceleration.
Yeah, you would think so. But now, on the other hand, the Bad Batch didn't know who she was at first. So,
okay, yeah, she could just be a young clone.
Right.
Does have the age acceleration, and maybe we'll see that.
It's possible.
I mean, you would have to, right? Because it only takes them a few months.
I would think. I mean,
for these clones, or what was it? It was half the time or something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was. The age double rate or something like that.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, she seemed to understand that the Bad Batch was, the Misfits, and she felt like she fit right in with the Misfits, and it's kind of cool. Get the whole lunchroom brawl kicking there. She's defending the Bad Batch, and then they defend her back. It was kind of neat.
That was some of the humor in this episode, was that lunchroom brawl.
Yes.
Wrecker's amazing.
Yes. Throws the tray at the other clone and oops.
Yeah, as he's, just tossing another one in his hand there. Oops.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know. I got a feeling that this is a character that's going to bring a little bit of lighter side to this show.
Mm-hmm.
If you just had the Bad Batch crew, I got a feeling that like the storytelling could get a little heavy.
Yes.
On its own, and then you have a character like this who can bring kind of a lighter, feel to it. So
this is this whole keeping this connection with children thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, if you just, like you said, if you just focused on the Bad Batch, this is going to get very gritty and dark real quick.
Right.
Because this is a war.
Yep. Or not even war at this point, but these guys are on the run now, and
right.
They exist for survival at this point. That could get pretty dark.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, because when you're existing for survival, I mean, you pretty much, we've all seen Rambo, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
you have to pretty much just kill everything that comes after you.
Yeah,
because otherwise they come after you again.
That movie is not a good pick me up. Yeah.
No. There's no childhood imagination there, right?
No.
Yeah, I immediately jumped to that one because of the obvious design influence on Hunter.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, more of the humor, their escape, right?
Oh yeah.
I really like their escape. Hunter, got his back to the wall. What's behind you there? Nothing.
Right.
I even like him, this room wasn't built for people like me, like
exactly. Yeah, kind of almost trying to repeat what Tech just told him.
Yeah.
About the room. That's funny.
Yeah, he's got no finesse to him.
No.
Like when he first said, "You mean I can punch my way out of here?" Shh.
Yeah.
Oh. You mean I can punch my way out of here?
Yes.
So. But yeah, I especially like the, move out of the way, why don't you come in here and make me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrecker is just a really fun character for me in this show.
For sure.
His other moment where he's arguing about his affinity for blowing stuff up.
Yes.
I like to blow stuff up only because I like to blow stuff up.
I have to be honest, I almost clipped that line for our show here, but
I'd love that.
It was funny.
I love their different personalities, and it takes the whole clone personality thing that we experienced in the Clone Wars, and it turns it up to 11.
Exactly. I have to say, I don't know. For me, this was an excellent start to a series. I look forward to seeing what's next, and thankful we have Star Wars again.
Yes, yeah, I'm with you. This episode was an absolute win. I have nothing bad to say about it. I guess except for now that the Freddie Prinze Jr. voice kind of sticks out to me now.
Sorry.
It didn't bother me before, but now it does. But I mean, that was so minor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, it's just a little deep at times. Right. I think for the majority of his appearance, it was just fine. But there are moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, this for a first episode, this was an absolute win. Knock it out of the park. Very similar to their first episode in season 7.
Right.
Just an absolute win.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to see where this series goes and how long it goes. I don't know if this is going to be a one-off season and that's that.
I'm hoping we get more than that because I think they have enough room to do that. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I'd like to see this, see a little bit of an extended run and not be like a very limited thing. Because it is just fun.
For sure.
And they've shown us how much they can have all this fun and still weave in that seriousness and really, really meaty elements.
Yeah.
Because that Order 66 stuff was gold.
It was. Definitely.
So, very excited. I hope we can continue to heap praise, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whatever they're doing for this episode, keep it up. Don't rest on your laurels. Just keep doing what you're doing, and I think we'll all be happy.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So, all right. Well, if you have anything to add, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's truly the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We will talk next week.